Hey, my little Halloweenies! We are getting closer. My Halloween countdown calendar has only got a couple of days left on it. The decorations are all up. We are nearing the end of the 31 Days of Horror with me, the Randy Mole, on the Jumbo Shango Randy Mole movie show. And today, this afternoon, I have just watched The Shed. Bam, 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 bam! From 2019, a very recent movie. A movie which I believe is Shudder. Is a Shudder film, but it is currently streaming also on Sky Movies if you're a subscriber for free. Let me tell you what it's about. So The Shed is a vampire movie. It's as simple as that. Some guy lives in kind of like small town America. He's had a tough life. Lives with his granddad, who's pretty abusive. Hangs around with his a guy that's like his best mate that's picked on, bullied. They're all sort of 17, 18. In fact, he says it's about his 18th birthday coming up in a few weeks, because if he does anything wrong, he can go get treated like an adult. We know he's got a bit of a checkered past because his parents died. He's kind of gone a bit off the rails. He's got a love interest at school. Bullies going on at school. General high school stuff. And in the back of his garden is a shed. And in that shed is a vampire. And the vampire starts to cause some havoc. It starts to eat people, as vampires will do. And he has to work out what to do with the vampire. And that's effectively the movie. So a few years back, I'm going to put a link to this in the descriptions. I made a top 10 vampire vampire film video. And you got a lot of bang for your buck if you watch that video, because you follow me actually hunting vampires and I catch a few. So please go look at it. I might even do one similar to do with a different creature if I can get the viewing figures up for that one. But I suppose from the outset, I need to say I love vampire movies. I've always been into vampires. Werewolves and vampires, I'd take them over zombies pretty much any day of the week. So I suppose ultimately the question is, would this film have made it into my top 10 vampire list if I was to redo it? Well, let me tell you what I liked about it. So I liked the fact that it was very simple, very straightforward movie. I liked the fact it felt quite timeless. The cars were, he drove an old car. There was nothing about it that felt like this was made today, but also it didn't feel like an old movie. So it had a kind of a timeless vibe about it. It was quite cliched, but I loved the way it kind of had something extra behind all the cliches. There was a little bit more meat to the story. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. There's a bully in it called Marble. And he's horrible. He's like Stephen King sort of bully, beats people up and all this, that, and the other. And there's just a throwaway comment by the love interest girl called Roxy for the main character, who says he wasn't always like that. And you kind of start getting just these little drop-ins every now and again that you know that these characters have been fleshed out at some point behind what we're actually seeing. And I like that. I don't need to know what made the bully the bully. I don't need to know it. But the fact that you dropped that one line in made me go, okay, I get it. Also, the main character, his name's Stan. I like the fact that we know he's gone off the rails since his parents died, but we don't really know everything that we don't know anything that he did after his parents died. We're left to fill in those blanks. We're left to create that character for us, and that's really good because it makes us sympathise with him. But he's also not. He's not a wimp. He's not. This isn't your classic, weak character becomes quite a strong character. In fact, he has a fight with the bully Marble in school. And he kicks his ass because he's bullying his best friend even more. And the bullied best friend absolutely loses it at one point. And wants to use the vampire effectively in the shed to get rid of a bully. He wants a bully to go in the shed because he knows that the vampire will kill him because they've worked out there's a vampire in there by now. Jumping many steps to the story. And I like that. I like the fact that there was a lot going on behind this very, very simple story. I like the fact that this, more than anything else, reminded me of kind of one of those films that I saw when I was younger that I probably shouldn't have watched it, but just chucked in and had a lot of fun with. They're not like an extreme horror by any means. And I use these two examples because this is what it really leans into. Fright Night and The Lost Boys. So although this film has a different vibe, it is not tongue-in-cheek, dare I say it, like Lost Boys is, Fright Night, they're both quite camp, they're both great fun, but this cape keeps it much more serious, maybe to its detriment at times, but it has that, something's going on next door in the shed, but, the Fright Night feel. It has the scene where Stan actually watches the TV that tells you how to kill vampires, like in Fright Night. The whole end battle scene where the vampire comes out of the shed and tries to get Stan and his girlfriend, love interest Roxy in the house, and a couple of the bullies that have turned up, he's so got a Lost Boys feel about it. Like, where's he coming? Where's he going? So, and I love that about it. It reminded me of the sort of thing that I can imagine when I was at secondary school. A mate would have given me a VHS and been like, "Oh, my dad recorded this the other night," and I got that vibe from this film. The actors, I wrote down who some of them were, but they were brilliant. They were brilliant. The main character, Stan, was so believable as that on the brink of adulthood. He knows he's done wrong in his life, and he knows that his life has not been great, and he's kind of coming of age to do something about it. And in many ways, this whole film is like a metaphor of him grappling with what to do about it, because he could do some very bad things, and it's like he's trying to find his own place in the world. The same with his best friend who's bullied, Dahmer. He's had enough, and he's also he's got to the age where he can realise he can do something about it. But maybe he's going to make some choices that Stan wouldn't go along with. You could argue he's been pushed too far, but I mean, there's also that element of what's going on behind his eyes. What's going on behind his eyes? The love interest, Roxy, she's lovely. She's great. You hear a bit of her backstory, how basically she's hanging around with the other crowd now, the cool kids, if you like, because she's looking for any way to get herself out of her somewhat cliche situation of bad home life. But again, I don't need that story. It's just those little drop-ins that make me go, I really want to see what these characters are going to do. And I'm not entirely sure what decisions they're going to make, because it sets out quite early that things don't always go as planned in this film. The first vampire... the first vampire is some guy gets attacked by a vampire when out hunting, and then he makes his way to the shed. And he's played by Frank Whaley, who I know you know him because I've seen him and I'm going, I know him, and I had to Google him, but he's in loads of films. There's a sheriff in this who's the lady from Men in Black, who's the wife of the guy who gets turned into the lizard, the alien. Recently she was in something else. Very recently she was in What We Do in the Shadows TV series. So, there is a pedigree of actor in this. But I want to give a particular shout out to the guy who played the bully, called Chris Patowski, plays a bully called Marble. This guy has possibly the stealing scene of the year when, slight spoiler alert, the fight ends up with someone trying to convince him to go in the shed, and his realisation of, this isn't right, and I'm supposed to be the hard guy, and you see his character change, and you can see it on his face, and I'm like, this guy needs an Oscar. This guy is bloody brilliant. Wow. I mean, it was directed by Frank Sabatella, who seems to be some guy who directed some genre films that I don't know. But yeah, I liked a lot about this film. There's some really good keeping the vampire in the shadows. He keeps away. Budget constraints maybe, but it worked for Jaws. And then when we actually do get some quite good vampire detail, actually there's some quite decent makeup effects on it as well. So what didn't I like about it? It's a little bit serious in places that, although I've said it feels quite timeless, makes me feel it's more 2000s horror, with that serious undertone that you got from everything like The Collector and Saw and all that, whereas rather than like the 80s nostalgia, maybe that's a little, and it's not, and I say that it's not serious in every way. There's a cool few one-liners in it, but yeah, maybe it's a little tiny bit serious. That's about it. Not much else I didn't like about it, to be honest. So, I said at the beginning, would this have gone into my top 10 vampire films of all time if I was to make the list today? It bloody would. It really would. I watched this film 6 weeks ago when it came out in the UK, and I put it on in the background thinking, a bit of throwaway horror. And it got to the end and I realised I was completely absorbed in it and was like, this is really good. I messaged Jambo and I'm like, have you heard of this film? And no, I've not heard of this film. It's not got John Claude Van Damme in it. I've not heard of it. And I'm like, no, it's really good. You should check it out. So I watched it again today to see if it held up. And I actually did really like it. And I really, really liked it. The feel I got from it was absolutely what I wanted. You know, I can imagine some people won't like it, but I wanted to be the kids. I wanted to be in this film. I wanted to be, I was invested and I knew it all. I knew it all before, but it was the best kind of cliches where I actually cared. Do you know what? I'm giving this 4.5 pumpkins and I'm really strongly recommending it. Yeah, what a surprise. Yeah, I'm really glad I saw it again. And I wish, I've just looked, I wish there was a UK Blu-ray. There is not, but because it's one I would like to add to my collection. So if you go and watch my video of my top 10 vampire movies, this would be in there. Take out Stakeland. Right, I'll see you soon. All right, see you later. Bye-bye. Where's this little dude? Bye-bye. Mwah.